Hello, everybody, and welcome to the One Fear Per Year podcast. And I am here with an amazing human being that I cannot wait to pick his brain, Chris Dyer. Thank you so much for being with us on this podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Janice. I'm glad to be here.
I am excited to talk to you because I know you, but I don't know you super well. So I want to hear just a little overview of what has been your relationship in your life with fear? Have you felt a lot of it? Is it like a big struggle for you, or how has it been? What role has fear played in your life?
Yeah, certainly fear has been a catalyst for different moments of my life and in different ways. So fear I wouldn't categorize as a negative emotion. It certainly can be negative. It can drive things in a negative way. But sometimes there's the fear of missing out, which isn't so bad if everyone else is going to college and you don't want to miss out and go to college too. That's okay. Right. You see everybody else is going and learning or doing this new thing. I mean, you and I are in the speakers group, see all the other speakers doing something and you have a little bit of that FOMO, right? Am I not doing the right thing? To have that kind of driver to push you, is this for me? Should I think about this? Should I do this? Been able to kind of use that, if you want to call that fear, in a positive way, to make sure I'm not behind, I'm not missing out on something, I'm not, taking advantage of something I should be taking advantage of. There's also been moments in time where fear of losing somebody. And my wife was really sick, had a lot of surgeries for a period of time, and she almost died several times. And so there was that real fear of how do I support her? How do I drive what was happening to her? I really had to manage what was happening to her. And so the fear of what I didn't know, and the fear of what I was missing to possibly help was driving me in a positive way, to go and find those answers, to make sure that I was prepared, to make sure I had 392 questions to ask the doctor when they walked in the room, whether they wanted to answer them or not, so that I could be prepared and ready. And then I would say the other kind of part, so that's fear, but there's a positive to that. And then the other part of fear is there's definitely things where I just go, I'm not interested. The amount of fear that would go into that experience, I have no desire to do. So it creates a nice boundary for me. Listen, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro a few years ago. It was amazing and fun. It's not dangerous. It could be dangerous if you're an idiot, but it's generally not dangerous. I have no desire to climb Mount Everest. That is dangerous. That is fear. There is a high chance of you dying or getting hurt or sick or whatever. I have no, thank you. Right. So in that regard, fear creates a nice boundary for me of this is my world and I can play and have fun and do stuff in there, and that's cool. But I'm not trying to break through all fears and chase all things and jump out of an airplane naked with no parachute. I'm not into that. I have this natural I know I would I prefer to be around as long as I can for myself and my friends and family, right? So
Yes. And so fear, it sounds like you view fear as this fuel, as a driver. And also, you know what your boundaries and your limitations are to things that you possibly might die. And so you choose not to do those things.
Right.
Something very interesting that you brought up is this fear of loss. So, talk to me a little bit more about that fear of loss when it has to do with a loved one, um, who possibly might die or something happen to them. How did you navigate that fear?
When it's happening, it's certainly, you're trying to control what you can control. So you can control yourself, you can control your emotions, you can control the research that I did and talking to doctors and talking to people who know what they're doing and trying to figure out as much as I can so that I'm as prepared, I'm as ready to, again, control my 50% in that, if I even have 50% control in a situation like that. So, but what I learned out of that is, in every relationship, we have a really an hourglass. We have a certain amount of hourglass is the wrong term, but we have this sort of sand timer happening. And the problem is it's in a bag and we can't see the timer. We don't know how much time we have in every single relationship that we currently have. This could be the last moment you and I ever talk. That is a possibility. And then again, we may have 1,000 interactions, and at 100 years old, you and I might high five and laugh that we're the only ones still standing. Like, who knows what that looks like? And so there's a certain amount of that fear of loss has to be tempered by being present and knowing that we don't have any possible knowledge of when that little timer, that little sand timer that's going on in that bag that we can't see is going to expire. And it could be the other person's timer and it could be my timer. And we just don't know. And if we're constantly worried about, and our fear is about that moment when that happens, how much have we lost, right? Waiting for that to happen. I've also heard it described as like a relationships are like an ice cube, right? It's always melting, and you can do certain things to kind of slow the melt and all that. But like at some point, it's not going to be an ice cube anymore, and it's done, and the water is going to evaporate. It's going to go, and then it's over. So that I think that's how I kind of think about it.
Yes. So what I'm hearing you say is to really be in that present moment in the relationship that we're in or with the people that surround us right now, instead of to be in our heads with worry or fear about the future. Like, hey, what about if we take full advantage of this moment? Like right now, Chris, this moment, you and I, maybe we'll hike a mountain together. Who knows? But
Yeah.
like right now, being present and not having that fear of what if, what if this happens, that happens, and to be in the moment. And I have found a lot of that has to do with surrender and just kind of releasing those parts of myself that want to control something that is uncontrollable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's so fascinating to me, this concept of the serenity prayer, which is the control the things that we can control, have the courage to do that, and then to be able to accept the things that we can't control and the wisdom to know the difference. So I've always found that very interesting when navigating my own life. But if somebody is listening who has the real problem with fearing loss or the fear of the unknown, something projected out into the future, what advice could you give to them?
To get really grounded into the now. And you can do that a lot of different ways, but certainly journaling, writing down what you're thankful for, creating action steps, writing down the things that you want to accomplish today, and that includes maybe let's just say your fear is like losing your parent. And yet, did you call that parent that day? Did you go to lunch with them? Did you do anything to further the relationship? Or are you just worried that they're going to die one day? And so what is it you can do now that's better than the fear? Because to tell somebody, well, just don't worry about it or just don't be fearful about it is not helpful. So I always find you have to take an action. You have to do something else in order to replace the thing you don't want anymore. If that makes sense, right? So instead of worrying, well, can I be proactive? Can I, if I'm going to worry about my mom passing away, can I call my mom and have a conversation with her?
That is so good, actually. I really, really like that. Like, as soon as that worry or that fear comes in, whatever that's related to, what can I do now in this present moment, as opposed to just being up in my head spinning circles about or stories about what if and
Yeah.
worst case scenarios. I love that. Uh, Now let's talk. I know that you were saying there's boundaries, certain things you just have no desire to do. But what about things like the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment that all kind of revolve around how other people view us? Has that ever been like a weight on your shoulders, something that you've struggled with?
Listen, I get no's all the time. I mean, I'm in all these proposals. People say they want me to come and speak or consult, but they're considering lots of other people, and so I get no's constantly. Now, what the world sees on social media is maybe that I'm getting yeses all the time, but they're not seeing all the no's that I'm getting. So, what was how always been important for me is to continue to understand what does success look like, and let's use baseball as an example. In baseball, if you hit 333, if you hit the ball 1/3 of the time, you are an all-star. You're a gazillionaire. You're literally failing 2/3 of the time. And you are considered one of the best that's ever happened, right? If you're considered one of the best. And so that's ridiculous. But that's true. And so I look at my own work and I say, well, what is my win percentage? And then how does that compare to other speakers that I know, other consultants, other people that do this work? Where are they at? And okay, well, am I a little above? Am I a little below? And if I'm below, well, then I need that is a it's a real thing. I need to go do something about it. I can improve. I can get better. If I'm doing a little bit better than everybody else, then that's not something I should be worrying about. I'm obviously doing fine. If I'm batting 333 and I'm an all-star, do I, you know, hey, I don't have Babe Ruth's numbers, but do I need them? Like, there's that thing. So I think understanding that is really, really important. Um, Accepting that rejection is going to be a part of it. There's a lot of great books and a lot of different strategies, but I love the strategy of get to 10 no's. Like, really enjoy, like, say, it's my goal to go get to 10 no's as fast as I can. So, I mean, let's just say you're going to start a new business, or let's say you're looking for a date. I mean, I don't know, whatever the thing is that you're going to go do where no's are a high possibility. How quickly do you get to 10? And what you're going to find is that by doing that, you're putting out the effort, you're doing the things, you're trying something new, you're could be putting out a proposal, or maybe you're going to go talk to 10 people at a bar, or like whatever it is, but along the way, I guarantee before you get to 10, you're going to have started to get some yeses.
I really like that. And it's a reframe. It's like, wait, instead of, oh, I'm terrified to get the no, you're actually searching for it,
Yeah.
which makes it feel so much better. Like, oh, yay, I gotta know, bravo, instead of like, "Meh, meh, I gotta know, what a bummer, what a
Yeah.
loser I am," or whatever the story is that we like to tell ourselves in those situations. So that's a winner.
And getting no is hard, especially like, I mean, you ask somebody out on a date at a bar you don't know, maybe that doesn't hurt as much as like you're going to lose a $20,000 contract. There's different, value or different weight to different no's. So please understand, I'm not, I understand the complexity there for anybody that's listening to this, but it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to, be upset if you didn't win something you thought you could have won that you put your heart and soul into. That's okay. But the goal is to get to that 10, see what you can learn, see what those iterations are that you can get better at. And what I have discovered, and it's taken a very long time and I still have to remind myself very often of this, very often, is that usually one no opens some other door. The universe provides. And if I get a no, it's because it was something better or something else I was supposed to be doing. The other day, this lady, like, I don't know, I just felt sorry for her. She like talked me into like doing it was going to be all this work and all this stuff. And I kind of like regretted saying I was going to do this. And they were considering a couple speakers, and she came back and told me they chose somebody else. And I actually jumped up and down. I was so excited. I was so happy that they said no to me, because I realized like how silly I had been. Like I was giving away too much. It was too much work, and not enough, anyways, like it was a great no, because then something else can come in on that date and I'll actually get paid correctly. So
Exactly, and it's almost that feeling of when something is meant for me or for you, that kind of the stars align and that thing will manifest. And obviously we have to do our part, we have to be prepared, we have to do what we need to do. But then the beautiful surrender of just going, I've done all the steps, and what's going to be will be, and I am going to be fully satisfied and content with what happens, and then move on to the next thing, right? Because like there are a million opportunities in the world, and so part of that might be a little scarcity mindset if we're feeling like we're clinging to certain things so much. Oh my goodness, I love this. Do you have, really quickly, a story in your life where you have felt fear around something, whatever that thing is, and you made the intentional choice that you were going to walk through that fear and do that thing?
Hmm. I certainly there were some moments when I think early in my career, when I really wanted a particular job or to go do a particular thing, but maybe inside me I felt like I wasn't qualified enough and I wasn't experienced enough or whatever. And so in those things, it was, we used to call it fake it till you make it. I mean, I would just take the bold confidence and go in and highlight what it is that I could do and why I was valuable, and not talk about any of the areas where I'm not. What are the attributes, what are those things that I can bring to this situation where I can be good, and how can I convince that other person that I'm the right person for that job or that opportunity or that promotion or whatever it was. But I remember there being that intense fear to go and do that because I was not as experienced or not old enough, or I was the 20 something, and like I'm sitting in a waiting room of people who are all in their 40s who are clearly more qualified than me, and I'm going in to get that job. And I did get that job, right? And so, but it was that, how do getting to that point, getting through that. The moment I walked in the office, like, something snapped, and like I'm in it, but when you're waiting in that waiting room, like that fear of like they're gonna laugh, we didn't call it imposter syndrome back then. I mean, someone sort of labeled that later on, but it was just, they're gonna laugh at me. They're gonna be like, "What do you mean? You're 22. You can't do this job." You know. So what I didn't realize is they're gonna get me a lot of energy, work twice as hard for half the price. Like I was a bargain. I hadn't thought about it that way. I'm thinking they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're 22, you don't know anything, you're a risk." And they're thinking, "Look at this guy's gonna work his butt off. I'm gonna pay him nothing."
Because we have the story in our own head of what's going on. So
Yep.
yeah, that's wow. So you ended up getting the job though, huh?
Yeah, every time I ever did that. But the fear, though, also drove me to be prepared, to think through how I was going to talk about it, to really focus on my strengths. Like, I didn't just show up and be like, "Well, I want this job. What's the job again?" Like, I mean, I really understood that fear drove me to be highly prepared for that
Mm.
moment, that interaction, because I didn't want to be laughed out of the room. Um, so again, that fear again was sort of a positive in that regards for me.
Yes, the driver and the fuel. Okay, so last question, because we are out of time. It goes by so fast. But if you were to tell me an exact opposite word of fear, what word would you choose?
That is an excellent question. And it doesn't feel like brave is the right word. Um, you know, it feels like there should be something else because I've kind of framed fear in this sort of positive way. I don't know. You're challenging me here. Usually I have um right off the top of my head, you know.
Well, and I don't think, I always say there's no right or wrong answer because I've gotten so many different answers to this question. So it's really how one personally.
I think it's calmness.
Mm,
Fear is this agitation and it is this thing, right? And calmness is the opposite to me.
peace,
Yeah.
calm, love. Oh my goodness, Chris, you are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and just who you are with us today. And everybody, go out there, face your fears, walk through them, use them as fuel and as a driver, as Chris was telling us, and everything beautiful and impactful and exciting and adventurous lies right on the other side of our fears. Have a good one, everyone. One fear per year.